The Antonov An-2 is a Soviet mass-produced single-engine biplane utility agricultural aircraft designed and manufactured by the Antonov Design Bureau since 1946. Design and development. The An-2 is used as a light utility transport, parachute drop aircraft, agricultural work and many other tasks suited to this large slow-flying biplane. Its slow flight and good short-field performance make it suited for short, unimproved fields, and some specialized variants have also been built for cold weather and other extreme environments. The Guinness Book of World Records states that the 45-year production run for the An-2 was for a time the longest ever for any aircraft, and challenging the well over 2 decades-long run of the much lighter, late 1920s origin Polikarpov Po-2 biplane it was intended to replace, but the An-2's production duration run record was itself recently exceeded by the 4-turboprop-engined 1954 origin Lockheed C-130 Hercules military transport. The Antonov An-2 was designed to meet a 1947 Soviet Ministry of Forestry requirement for a replacement for the much lighter, largely wooden airframed Po-2, which was used in large numbers in both agricultural and utility roles. Antonov designed a large single-bay biplane of all-metal construction, with an enclosed cockpit and a cabin with room for seats accommodating 12 passengers. The first prototype, designated SKH-1 and powered by a Shvetsov-21 radial engine, flew on the 31st of August 1947. The second prototype was fitted with a more powerful Shvetsov-62 engine, which allowed the aircraft's payload to be significantly increased from 1,300 to 2,140 kilograms, and in this form it was ordered into production. Initial Soviet production was at State Factory 473 in Kiev, Ukrainian SSR, where the bulk of up to 5,000 units had been produced by 1960. Later Soviet production was at State Factory 464 at Dolgoprudny, Russian SFSR. After 1960, however, most An-2s were built at Poland's WSK factory in Milas, with over 13,000 made there before full production ended in 1991. Limited production from parts stocks, as well as spares and maintenance coverage continued until 2001, when 4 aircraft were produced for Vietnam. China also builds the An-2 under license as the Shijiazhuang Y-5. It has been occasionally and erroneously reported that there was East German production of the An-2. While An-2s were extensively refurbished in East Germany, there were no new aircraft built there. The An-2 was designed as a utility aircraft for use in forestry and agriculture. However, the basic airframe is highly adaptable and numerous variants have been developed. These include hopper-equipped versions for crop dusting, scientific versions for atmospheric sampling, water bombers for fighting forest fires, flying ambulances, float-equipped seaplane versions and lightly armed combat versions for dropping paratroops. The most common version is the An-2 T-12-seater passenger aircraft. All versions are powered by a 750 kilowatts 9-cylinder Shvetsov-62 radial engine, which was developed from the Wright R-1820. It uses 43 gallons of avgas per hour. The An-2 has design features which make it suitable for operation in remote areas with unsurfaced airstrips. It has a pneumatic brake system to stop on short runways. It has an airline fitted to the compressor, so the pressure in the tires and shock absorbers can be adjusted without the need for special equipment. The batteries are large and easy to remove, so the aircraft does not need a ground power unit to supply power. There is no need for an external fuel pump to refuel the aircraft, as it has an onboard pump that allows the tanks to be filled from simple fuel drums. It has a minimum of complex systems, the crucial wing leading edge slats that give the aircraft its slow flight ability are fully automatic, being held closed by the airflow over the wings. Once the airspeed drops below 64 km/h, the slats will extend because they are on elastic rubber springs. Takeoff run 170 meters, landing run 215 meters. A note from the pilot's handbook reads, "If the engine quits in instrument conditions or at night, the pilot should pull the control column full aft and keep the wings level. The leading edge slats will snap out at about 64 km/h, and when the airplane slows to a forward speed of about 40 km/h, the airplane will sink at about a parachute descent rate until the aircraft hits the ground." The An-2 indeed has no stall speed quoted in the operating handbook. Pilots of the An-2 say one can fly the aircraft in full control at 48 km/h. This slow stall speed makes it possible for the aircraft to fly backwards. It will travel backwards at 8.0 km/h whilst under full control. Since the collapse of the Soviet Union and the Eastern European Communist states, most airlines in these areas have been withdrawing their An-2s from service. Some of these aircraft are now over 40 years old and the production of Avgas had decreased. Private operators are still using the planes, as the stability, capacity and slow flying ability make them very popular, for instance for skydiving. In the early 1980s, Antonov experimented with the development of the An-2 powered by a modern turboprop engine. The unit used was a 1080 kW Glashenkoff engine. An aircraft fitted with this engine were fitted with a longer, more streamlined nose to accommodate it. See Antonov An-2 article for more information. In 2013, Antonov announced that it had successfully flown for the first time a new version of the An-2 dubbed the An-2-100 fitted with a 3-blade, reversible propeller and a 1500 shp motor. MS-14 turboprop running on kerosene rather than Avgas, which is no longer produced in CIS countries, whilst the high noise levels, increasing maintenance costs, high fuel consumption and unsophisticated nature make them obsolete for commercial service in Europe. The large number of aircraft available means that prices are low. This makes them ideal for the developing world, where their ability to carry large loads into short airstrips makes them assets to airlines on a budget. Many ex-Aeroflot An-2s work as regional airliners in Africa, Central and South America, Cuba and Southeast Asia. North Korea has a number of the aircraft. In a war they could possibly be used to parachute to deliver special forces troops behind enemy lines for sabotage operations. The An-2's ability, looks and flying characteristics, and its status as one of the world's biggest single-engined production biplanes, mean that demand for the An-2 is increasing in Western Europe and the United States, where they are prized by collectors of classic aircraft, making it an increasingly common sight at airshows. Many Western countries prohibit the use of the An-2 commercially because the aircraft has not been certified by the relevant national aviation authorities. These restrictions vary by country, but all prevent the An-2 being used for any for-profit purpose, with the exception of the United States, where An-2s imported since 1993 are limited to experimental certification. But PZL-built An-2s are exempt from this restriction due to a bilateral agreement with Poland. Modernization and refitting projects. In 2013, Antonov received orders for upgrading hundreds of the An-2 planes still in operation in Azerbaijan, Cuba and Russia to the An-2-100 upgrade version. The Siberian Research Institute of Aviation has test-flown a highly modified Antonov An-2 with carbon fiber winglet-like braces and carbon fiber wing structures. This is to demonstrate the aerodynamic and structural changes planned for an An-2 replacement, Sukhoi has announced on 10 June 2015. The aircraft was equipped with a 5-bladed turboprop engine, most probably the Honeywell TPE 331 already installed on a modernized version of the An-2 that entered service in 2014. The autoclave-cured, carbon fiber composite materials, including wing panels, spars and ribs, were produced by the Novosibirsk aviation plant. Sukhoi says the design change improved the speed of the An-2 by 50%, and testing also has shown the minimum flying speed of the aircraft is close to zero. Operational history. The An-2 was used by combat services in the Korean War. During the 1960s, an An-2 attempting to engage South Vietnamese naval units was shot down by an F-4 Phantom II under the control of an air intercept controller on the US Long Beach. On 12 January 1968, a clandestine TACAN site installed by the United States Air Force in northern Laos for directing USAF warplanes flying from Thailand to Vietnam, was attacked by 3 North Vietnamese An-2s. 2 An-2s fired on the outpost using machine guns and rockets, while a third An-2 orbited overhead to survey the assault, and Air America Bellew H-1B XWPHF, resupplying the site, chased the 2 attacking aircraft. By using an AK-47, the American crew succeeded in shooting down one of the An-2s, while the second aircraft was forced down by combined ground and air fire and crashed into a mountain. The surviving Antonov returned to its home base, Gia-Lam, near Hanoi, during the Croatian War of Independence in 1991. A few old Antonov An-2 biplanes used for crop spraying were converted by the Croatian Air Force to drop makeshift boiler bombs and were used in supply missions to the town of Vukovar and other besieged parts of Croatia. The chief advantage for the An-2 was that they could take off and land in small or improvised airstrips. They were also used to drop supplies by parachute on isolated garrisons. At least one was shot down on 2 December 1991 over Vinkovci, eastern Slavonia, by Serbian SAM missiles, purportedly SAR-6s. Following the shoot-down, the flights over Serbian lines ceased, due to the presence of TV-guided SAR-6. The previous radar-guided AA systems were avoided by keeping the airplane's speed below 140 km/h, the speed of objects that radars were programmed to erase from the screen. Civil aviation. Estonia. During the Soviet Union era, the An-2 was used as a short-range airliner for regular flights between the towns of Kuressaare and Kardla, which reside on separate islands, Saaremaa and Hiiumaa. A peculiarity of the plane was that whenever it was a bit more windy, the plane flew just fine, but passengers were vomiting due to the rocking.